Please welcome Santiago Pontiroli to talk about the wonderful world of cheating in games. So I think we are past Gabba Gabba Hey times.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome to the presentation. A few disclaimers before. My presentations are usually just images. There is not much text. There are no IDA Pro screenshots. I'm very sorry about that. So you will only see some pretty images, but you will have to listen to me. I'm very sorry. So, do you know anything about this picture? Who this man is? This is a very controversial picture to show in England. Anyone knows why? You can shout it. Cheating, yeah. That's Diego Armando Maradona, an Argentinian. This game was for the quarterfinals in the 1996 World Cup. And he scored a goal against England, and Argentina won 2-1. And he scored a goal with his hand. So basically, he just slam dunked the ball. It's not like he touched it or... No, it was pretty obvious. So, when they asked him, like, well, how was the goal? Was it yourself? And he said, well, half of the goal was Diego Maradona, half of the goal was the hand of God. And since then, people are calling this moment the hand of God. So, for me, this is one of the very first, I would say, popular cheating examples in sports. You could see cheating since the old times, since the great Byzantine Empire. But this, for me, and being here in England, I just wanted to share this with you. So, this man is not so popular. His name is Ted Rogers. So he has the most amount of records, Guinness records, for video gaming. So he has, for example, a record in a game called Dragster that he finished, for example, a lap in 6 seconds. Years afterward, another guy reverse engineered the game and, told Activision, the publisher, hey, did you guys check this? I was checking the code and the maximum lap, the least amount you can do is 5 seconds. How? I mean, he done less. He done more, sorry. So, they removed all his records. Afterwards, all the other companies that he had records with started checking. And for example, he had a record with a game that your score would go in even numbers. And he had the highest score in an uneven number. So this is one of the very first cases of cheating related to video gaming. But why speak about video games and cheating in a security conference? You might say, I've gone crazy, I have nothing else to talk about, and you have nothing better to do. Maybe, but you need to wait for a couple of slides, and you will decide at the end. So, the cake is a lie. I will explain this at the very end, but what I want you to take from this presentation is that cheating in video games is no longer an action for single individuals. It's an entire industry. And we, as security professionals, are more than equipped to deal with this. Much better than publishers and developers in video game houses. I always love to say this quote when I'm speaking about video games, because I think it represents exactly how much influence do they have in our popular culture. So if video games had any influence on us, we'd be in dark rooms munching pills and listening to repetitive music. So yeah, nothing too similar. They used to say that this quote was said by the Nintendo president, but actually it was a British comedian. So we saw in the last slide, that image in the background was an esports tournament, Dota 2, Descent of the Ancient 2. Last year, the number of viewers for that game, for that tournament, was 400 million viewers. It was much more by, a couple of millions than the Super Bowl. The prices for these tournaments can range from $10 million to $30 million. And when you measure the size of the gaming industry, for example, it's more than television, than Hollywood, and music. So, for example, let's take just one very specific example. Grand Theft Auto 5 did more money in the first 3 days of publishing than Avengers and Star Wars. So that's how big this industry is. Let's start speaking about cheating. This is one of the very first documented cheats. This is from the year 1996. A Japanese developer thought like, well, this is taking too much time to debug. I will probably need some time of code or something to enable like a debug mode. So he invented this code known as the Konami code or the Contra code. And it has been everywhere since then in a lot of video games. And it was one of the very first codes that you could use personally, I mean, just in single-player games, just to cheat, you know, to get unlimited lives, to go to another level, different things.
All right, come on. If Mission Control thought we could help get the shuttle out of orbit, it can't be that hard. Okay, try this. Hit up, down, left, right, B, A, start. Then we'll have unlimited lives.
Come on, we're running out of time.
I love Family Guy. But beyond that, this is a very clear example that sometimes video games go beyond like, you know, the traditional opinion that is just for men in, you know, like 20-year-olds. Actually, according to the statistics from the Electronic Software Alliance in the US, the average age for a video game player is 35 years old, and 55% of them are male, and 45% are female. So people in their 30s are playing video games, people that are having their jobs and their family, and have money to spend on things. So let's go back to So, I told you that I think, actually it's more than think, I know that this is an industry. And this goes back to 2011. So, this is a cheat that was made for World of Warcraft. At the time, that game had 12 million players. If you compare it, for example, with Fortnite, nowadays, that has more than 100 million players, you would say like it's nothing. Yet, they sold 100,000 copies of a cheat for $25. So you have a 2.5 million business idea over there. Of course, they got sued by, you know, the publisher by 6 million, so he lost everything and then some. But yeah, but still, you know, it's a clear example that crime does pay, even if for a while. This is another example from a game called APP. The publishers were so annoyed with cheaters that they published an open letter called "Should We Give Cheaters Amnesty?" And this was because they were ruining not only the experience for other players, they were ruining the business. Nowadays, when you are buying a video game, I don't know about you, if you play, if you like it or not, but if you are buying a game, the online experience is one of the most important factors that you know, when you make a decision, you say, hey, can I use it online? Because you get bored pretty easily. That's how our focus has shifted. So they published these numbers, and this was also around 2011. And they said like these cheat developers are making like $15,000 to $50,000 a month, and they are ruining the experience for everyone. So what should we do about it? To give you some examples of how these cheating pages look like, for example, this is diamond cheats, and you can have a subscription model. So, for example, you pay, let's say, $59 for a AAA game. That's the average price, you know? And you're paying $54 a month to cheat. So what's wrong with you? But you know, when you read, and this goes beyond the technical side, when you read why people cheat, well, in some cases they use it in tournaments, they use it to make money. But I have spoken, you know, with many people related to the human sciences, and you know, the very first reason for people cheating is that they hate their jobs. There was an example of a Canadian man that would go online and, get even with everyone in the virtual world. So you would pay, let's say, $45, but in some cases, these cheats could go for $500. They can cost several times more than the video game. I don't know if you can see the price here, but it says for 7 days, that's 20 francs. And if you want a lifetime subscription, you can have for 220 francs that service. You can have Valve, anti-cheat, Pump Baxter, Firefight, matchmaking. You can use it in tournaments. It will cook for you. It will do everything. But what about consoles? So we have these cheats for PC master race. But what about consoles? So right now what people are using is hardware modifications, sometimes using Arduino hardware and scripts to automate everything that they need to do within a game. For example, games like League of Legends or Dota 2, where you need to perform very repetitive actions. Games like those in consoles are very easy to script. This is an example from Brazil, that you can buy this USB adapter, you plug it in between your controller and the console, and then you charge and then you load the scripts with just your computer, and you can play, for example, Battlefield, Call of Duty, anything like that, and you can cheat without anyone knowing. Does anyone know who that man in the background is? That's Lord Gaben. He's the owner of Valve software. And as there are cheaters, there are anti-cheating solutions. And one of the problems that we are having right now is that anti-cheating solutions are having the same issues as the antivirus industry. It's an arms race between two opposing sides. And at the very same time, there is another player in the middle that is privacy. So if you need to scan the memory of the computer, if you need to know what processes are being used, if you need to know everything about the network connections, cookies, whatever, there is a privacy issue right there. And people did some reverse engineering on the Valve anti-cheating software, and they found out it was getting DNS requests for every page that you did. So that's why Gabe Newell said, we are not interested in your porn surfing habits. We just want you not to cheat. And then the EFF started paying more attention because other anti-cheating solutions showed some behaviors like this. So in order to protect the player, you need to know what is happening on the player's computer, because one of the very first rules about cheating, at least when it comes to computer games, is that the client has too much trust. What I mean by that? When you install a game in your computer, it's your environment. You can do whatever you want. So you can load, for example, Oli Debugger, IDA Pro. You can use anything you want to cheat. So in the old days, for example, if you wanted to cheat in a first-person shooter, and you had like a LAN party, you could use one of the computers as a proxy. And for example, if it was a shooting game, you would shoot. That instruction would go to the proxy would know where the opposing players were, would change the instruction, and you would have an instant kill without even looking at the player. So for example, you could shoot right ahead and would kill him. So that's very crazy. Nowadays it's much more complex than that, and it's as the same story is repeating over and over again. As antivirus, we've dealt with this before, but now it's the anti-cheating issue. So people are quitting the games because of all the cheating and all, the negative toxic behavior that is around. There is a term called griefer. Griefer are people that just join online games to annoy the hell out of you. That's all they do. It's like a digital prankster. So, the last few years, Valve has been starting banning players for doing this. They have different methods for banning. For example, in the beginning, they would ban you for 5 minutes, then for a day, then for a year, and now it's a permanent hardware ban. So if you want to cheat again, you need to get another account, buy the game again, and cheat another time. And people are still doing it. The cheats that are used for this sometimes are, detected, but there is what is called a delayed ban. So you don't want the players to know that you know about the cheat. So the same as the AB industry and creating records to detect but not publish anything yet, the anti-cheating solutions are doing the same. So I see like a equivalent there, and that's what I think, that we are more than equipped to deal with this. For example, there is another game called PUBG that just recently banned 30 million players. So that's how big the issue is. Imagine how much money this is costing the companies. So, for example, in Korea, South Korea, right now, cheating is illegal. So, not only creating or selling, distributing cheats, but also if you are just like a regular streaming and you are showing modifications of the game and you are just streaming, wanting to build your audience, you would get fined or prosecuted for this. There was a case of a 14-year-old boy that was sued by Epic Games because he was using a modification and was streaming. And his mother found out in a very hard way that they were being sued for millions. And he wasn't even developing these cheats. He was only using them. So that's how far this problem has gone. But coming back to Korea, it's illegal to cheat in video games, but it's legal to cheat on your wife or your husband. So that for me was very interesting when I was using these keywords just for searching. The methods for cheating and for anti-cheating are pretty much the same that we are seeing between the malware and the AB industry. So, for example, if you were to launch a game and you were using cheats, BIC, that's the anti-cheating solution from Valve, would detect if you have, for example, Sandboxy, Wireshark, Olivebagger, any of the tools that we regularly use. So it would get detected and you wouldn't be able to play a game, at least not on your analysis machine. And on the other side, you have players that when they are installing these cheats are required by the developers to disable the antivirus. They are installing rootkits, so cheats don't get detected. Some I've read in forums are trying to use code from APT actors such as Turla, are using like kernel stuff, like they have gone way beyond what I thought it was possible. And I think this is very interesting, and this is where I think it's overlapping with the malware ecosystem. So, I'm from Kaspersky. We recently launched our anti-cheat, and I was monitoring some forums. And people have begun speaking about, like, hey, do you think this is worth, like, this? Do you think it's going to hurt us? No, don't worry, like, it's Russian shit. Like, and then they would go like, no, I think it's okay. So people are taking notice into what AB companies are doing in this area. So maybe we are new players to the game, but I imagine all of you at the very least work related to something in the security industry, maybe for another AB company. So I think it's important for us to take care and to protect also gamers. So if you still don't have that feature in your product, I would suggest maybe take a look. And us, as a professional, I would say we need more information, we need more collaboration. So we are having blind spots. For me, for example, I was doing this presentation for my colleagues, and I got some questions that I couldn't answer because there is a lot of information that is private. So, for example, Epic Games has like a 100 million player base, but it's not forced to share that information with me. How many cheaters are there? What are they using? What are their methods for combating this issue? So our visibility is still very low. So again, it's the very same issue that it's like over and over the same movie. Some takeaways for you. This is a growing illegal economy. This is not anymore like one single player against the computer doing something shady. This is people hurting other people. People are losing their jobs. Developers are forced to close. So the extension of this is much more than you would expect or you would imagine. So I thank you for being here, because with the title of my presentation, I don't know what you imagined, but my idea is that I usually choose topics that are not very traditional to speak about, because I think there is like a maybe niche area that a lot of people are forgetting. It's really nice to work on APTs, to work on financial threats, Trojan bunkers, but there are other threats out there too. It's an emerging research area, so if you are looking into something to start working on and you don't know what that is, I would suggest start looking into this. I mean, you have the knowledge, you have the skills. Most of the cheats that you will find nowadays, especially the private ones, are heavily packed, obfuscated. They're using commercial protectors. As I said, some exhibit rootkit behavior, maybe some kernel drivers. So this is very complicated stuff, but I think that the people in this room can do it. So there is just regular cheats, like the Konami code. Then you have malware-like cheats. And then you have also the markets. You have these pages that I showed you before, but also you need to take into consideration that when you're playing a game, sometimes you're getting items in exchange for your time and you know the skills that you demonstrate in that game. So there is also like a gray and black market of stolen items. Sometimes there are virtual sweatshops. So if you want to level up in, let's say, Fortnite or, I don't know, World of Warcraft, you can pay someone. Actually, there is a sweatshop here in the UK that I know about. You can pay someone to play for you, and after a while, you will get your character just level up. I don't know where the fun is in not playing, but you can pay for that. So there is also farming, for example, where you can use like a replay attack to get virtual currency and then exchange it for real currency. So there are a lot of different things to research here. And for me, that's something that I will keep doing. After 2 years, I think, the last time I did something related to gaming was with my colleague Bart Paris. He was working in Panda, and we did a research about credential stealing related to Valve. And I thought, okay, it's time to continue with the topics. So you would see a lot of presentations here that are extremely important, extremely fun. But then after 2 years, you say, like, what happened? Did you continue with the topic? It's not like set it and forget it. You will need to keep working at it. So, cheat codes in the 80s. IDDQD, anyone remember that one? Doom? Okay, and the cheat code now. So you need just a credit card, a bag of money, and just the willingness to annoy other people. So, the cake is a lie. That phrase is from the game Portal 2. And you would play the entire game on the premise, or on the promise actually, that you would get a cake at the end. That game is extremely difficult. But when you finish the game, you are faced to a wall, and there is a graffiti there that says, the cake is a lie, there is no cake. So you play the entire game, and you are extremely disappointed. And you know, the idea with this is that not everything looks what it seems. And I think this is the case with video game cheating. This is an illegal market, this is an industry, and we can do something about it. Thank you.